All right, this is going to be a controversial video because as someone who shares about reselling online, I don't think that most people should be full-time resellers. And I think I'm going to get a lot of comments about this because maybe people calling me lazy or saying I just don't know how to do it right or something, but I tried the whole full-time reselling thing. I know there are a lot of people out there who tried it, and it is harder than it looks. In my experience, it is like a fast track to burnout and not feeling like you're making enough money and just working too much. It can work for some people, don't get me wrong, but I do think that for most people, reselling should stay part-time or a side hustle, and let me tell you why. If you are new here, my name is Eileen, and I talk all about reselling and making money from home and kind of building a reselling business that's a little bit more simple, optimized, streamlined, so it's not overwhelming you, taking over your house, or you're not just like listing things and never selling them. So my goal is to help you build a better reselling business. Right now, I am very part-time. I'm more of like on the side hustle reselling side, just because it is not something that I want to do at a higher volume. But I do love reselling. I love thrifting. And the reason I do it part-time is because I want to continue to love it and not be stressed out by it. So I did try full-time reselling back in 2018, 19, and I quit in 2020 when we decided to go RVing full-time, because obviously I can't have a bunch of inventory in an RV with me. And I'm so glad that I did, because I found that there are a lot better ways to make money online if you want to do it full time, and that I could just enjoy reselling again and didn't have to do it full time to feel fulfilled by it. So here are my experiences as a full-time reseller. The first thing is that it is a lot more time consuming than you think it's going to be. A lot of people think, okay, I spend about 20 hours per week reselling. If I want to double my income, I'll just double my hours. And that is not the truth. Think about it this way. If you are a part-time reseller and you are not relying on it full-time, then you can go into a thrift store and pick out the good stuff and be like, okay, these are the good things that I'm going to sell. But when you're doing it full-time, you are a little more desperate for inventory. So when you go through that thrift store for 2 or 3 hours, you can't be as picky because there are only so many hours in the day for you to go sourcing. So you end up picking things out of like desperation almost, especially on days when it's a little more dry and you're just not finding a lot of stuff. I found myself really anxious when sourcing that I would not find enough stuff to list for that week. And it just made sourcing so tedious, and I would spend like so many hours looking through racks and racks and racks of stuff, which is already kind of like a physical thing, just like standing for that long, but just like feeling super discouraged, and it was not fun times. So as a part-time seller, it's so much more fun because I can just pick what I want to pick. I can get out of there if I want to be done for the day. Reselling full-time just requires so much more inventory, and you can't be picky. So it's like you're going to have to lower your expectations a little bit, which means you're going to be buying more stuff that's not going to sell for as much or not have big of a profit margin. It's just a lot different than what most people think. You can't just like double the time that you're spending shopping or double the inventory that you're purchasing. It's just a lot more different. You can't be as optimized as you are when you're part-time. I hope that makes sense. The other thing is that it takes a lot of inventory. So you are managing so much inventory. I had piles in my office. We had so much stuff. We had a full single car garage when we were full-time reselling. And it really takes a lot of time and capital to build up to the point where you're making a full-time income, like a pretty long time. Another thing is that taking time off is really difficult because you can't ship stuff if you're across the country on a vacation for 2 weeks, right? We took a 6-week road trip, and it really ruined things for a long time for us. We didn't make a lot of money during those 6 weeks at all. And then when we got back, building back up to the level that we were at took literal months. And so our income wasn't just hit for 6 weeks. It was hit for like 4 months at least. So going out of town, if you're someone that likes to go on vacation or drive to see family for a week at a time, if you're doing more than like 2 or 3 days on vacation, it can be really tricky. And it also can kind of like throttle your business and bring things down. So you have to build back up again, which is not fun. Another thing is that it's really inconsistent. As much as I try to be very consistent, sales are not consistent across the year, across platforms. Things go up and down, things change. And you're really dependent on selling on certain platforms, and you're dependent on the traffic that they give you. And if they decide to change something in their algorithm and you're suddenly not getting any views, then you just have slower sales. So there's a lot of anxiety in like making your sales go up. And sometimes it ends up being like you're discounting stuff really high. And then there's just the time. Like I said, most resellers that I follow that are full-time are not working 40 hours a week. They're working 50 or 60 hours a week, or they have help, which just cuts into your profit. So it is a lot more work, time, and capital than most people would expect it to be. And I find the return on investment is not worth it unless you live in an area that has like really, really good stuff. So the reason I started full-time reselling is because I was doing it for a while part-time. I was making really good money for part-time business. And then my daughter was born and I was like, I want my husband to be able to see her more than like an hour at night like he was able to with my son because he was working all the time. And I was at a point where I was like, I can really build this from here. So I started building it. We eventually got up to probably $7,000 or $8,000 in sales a month at our peak, which didn't last very long because like I said, we went on that vacation and ruined everything. And with our profit being about 50%, it wasn't quite enough to support us well living in Southern California. And the thing is I wanted to work for myself because I wanted freedom. I wanted to be around my kids. I wanted to be with my family. And reselling full-time meant so much time sourcing. I'd spend 2-3 full days sourcing, including driving an hour to LA because the sourcing where I wasn't that great. And then I would lock myself in my office the rest of the time so that I could get everything listed. And it was just a lot of work and I wasn't spending that much time with my family. So reselling is not one of those businesses where you can like do a lot of work up front and then just like sit back a little bit and maintain it. It's like you're constantly having to grind. And that is not what I'm about. I want to be able to spend time with my family. I want to be able to take days off if I need to. And it was just a lot. So I eventually let go of the dream of being full-time reseller, even though it sounds so glamorous and so impressive. I just found that it was just a lot of really hard work, which is fine, but it was so time consuming and just took me away from my family too much. But that doesn't mean no one's going to be good at full-time reselling. I just want to warn people that it's not as glamorous as it sounds. If you are maybe single and you don't have a family that you want to spend a lot of time with and you're okay with just like hustling a lot, you might be good at full-time reselling. If you have access to a high volume of quality inventory, that might be a good way to start reselling. I wasn't able to find bulk inventory that I was comfortable with spending a lot of money on, so I handpicked every single piece and I needed hundreds of pieces a week. But if you don't mind working 40, 50, 60 hours a week, spending a lot of time on your feet sourcing, unless you can get inventory elsewhere in bulk. And if you're okay with not taking long vacations because it really does impact your business, or you can hire employees, which obviously cuts into your profit, then reselling full-time might be good for you. But I will say that for most people, if you like thrifting and you like reselling and you want to continue to really like it, going full-time is kind of like, it just makes it not fun anymore. Here's why I like it part-time. The first thing is that you can keep it flexible. If you don't have time to list this week, no big deal. If you didn't source enough stuff, no big deal. No need to panic buy stuff that you're only going to make a $5 profit on just because you need to keep active on the platforms. You can enjoy thrifting again. There was a while where I was just burnt out on thrifting because I was doing it constantly, but in a state of like, I need to find this many items. Like I'd try to find 100 items in a day. And if I didn't, then that day was a waste because I just drove an hour there and an hour back. So, I was able to enjoy thrifting again. I love thrifting again. And I just remember like the anxiety and the desperation of finding the right stuff or enough inventory every time I went sourcing. And that was no fun. Another thing is you are not tied to like a mountain of inventory. You don't have to keep tons of inventory around. You can have like a couple things that you list. I personally have like a closet with a couple things hung up and then a couple of plastic totes where I keep stuff that doesn't get hung up. And when I'm ready, I go take pictures of all that stuff and then move it into the garage on our shelf of listed inventory. And it is so nice to have my house back after years of just kind of letting reselling kind of take over the house and just like having inventory all over the place as it's being processed in different stages of reselling. The other thing is not having to invest so much money. I feel comfortable with what I'm allowed to pay myself now because I don't have to keep investing in so much inventory. I was spending like hundreds, thousands of dollars on inventory before, and if it doesn't sell, so stressful. So now I can invest in things that I feel like are worth it and not invest in things that I feel like are not worth it because there's no like income goal that I need to have to support my family. So now instead of reselling full-time, I do it part-time and I love it. And I teach you guys how to do it as another income stream with YouTube, with digital products like my course. and just other ways of making an income. And I am much happier now. I am able to work in a way that is more location independent because I'm not tied to a bunch of inventory. I don't have to invest a lot of money in order to make my full-time income. And I just have a lot more flexibility and freedom, but I can still enjoy thrifting and buying things to resell online, which I truly do love to do. So I don't mean this to scare anyone away from full-time reselling. I just want to give you a more realistic look at it because it sounds like the goal and it sounds so glamorous. And I really wish that it was that way. But for me personally, it was just too much. It was such a grind 24/7. Like I was constantly sourcing, constantly listing, and I just was not able to enjoy anything else. So it was a lot of work. And the thing is I hope people don't think, oh, you're lazy because it was too much work for you. But like now I make a decent income. It goes up and down with as anything else, but I'm not like forced to source for hours and hours and hours a week and forced to purchase things because I need to list something and I'm not finding good stuff. It's so much less stressful and I get to spend time with my kids and we can go on vacation because I can bring my laptop anywhere. So I love reselling, but I don't think I will ever be a full-time reseller again unless we are really struggling and that is what I have to fall back on. And in that case, that is something else that's really great about reselling. Like I said, it's flexible. If I really need to be more full-time, I could do it as a backup plan, but I hope I don't have to. I love reselling, but full-time's a lot. If you are a full-time reseller and you hate me because of this video, I'm so sorry. But I would love to hear your opinions on full-time reselling. Have you tried it? Did you enjoy it? Was it too hard? I struggled. My biggest struggle was finding enough inventory. As you can see from this video, I had a lot of anxiety around it and I was just anxious all the time trying to make ends meet. So again, let me know if you have tried full-time reselling, if it's on your list of stuff to do, or if you're going to keep reselling as kind of like a side hustle, part-time business, just like I am. Thanks for watching. Bye.